you've let me vent, and that's one of the big things. But if you keep using this silent treatment, especially in relationships, like if you're in a relationship that you keep using the silent treatment, then you are like in an abusive, emotionally. This is Vivian Velasquez.
And this is Raul Velasquez.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast.
Welcome to the God, Money, and Purpose podcast. My name is Raul Velasquez, and I have my co-host with me,
Vivian Velasquez.
I almost said sex. I almost said God, Money, and Sex podcast.
We're so used to that. It's so catchy and it's so us. But
so now it's purpose.
If you're just following us, we rebranded God, Money, and Purpose. And as I was saying before on my Facebook Live, I think, the big reason why we rebranded and we changed the name, rebranded, and we changed the name is because sex was such a limited word to what we really stand for. And we, it's not just sex. It has a lot to do with connection, with time, with, relationship, with marriage, just all of it that, goes into that. And it's very limited. So
at the same time, we were getting flagged by porn. We were getting flagged in YouTube. We're getting a lot of shit. So now we're gonna keep it to make sure that we're attracting the right people to listen to this message. Because if you're watching this, we're live in Facebook, we're live in Instagram, we're live in YouTube. So I thank you for watching us. Please comment and let me know that you are connecting with us. We're committed to do a weekly live podcast every single week,
and we're gonna try to be on time. 5-ish.
As long as our technical team is doing what it's supposed to do. No, that team is awesome. It's on us. It's on us. So thank you for joining us today. And it's been a tough week. It's been a hard week. A lot of stuff going on right now in the market. A lot of stuff going on right now in the world. And I want to just spend some time with you to see how we could help you become better, because I think times like this is actually molding us and shaping us and making us stronger. So we're going to do two things today. We're going to give you some insights of how we're handling a lot of this negativity that's going on right now. And we're also going to be answering some questions. So if you have questions right now, is a time for you to post those questions in the comments. We do have some questions that we have prepared from some of from last week's podcast. And at the same time, if you're watching the rerun or you're listening to iTunes, there's a text message. I'm going to have my teams put my number in the text message. So you can actually text me your questions. You can also text to join this podcast. And maybe next time we'll bring you here live, because we want to make this a show. We don't want to just make this a regular podcast. We want to involve you. So if you want to be part of our conversation, get involved. Just like in anything, in order for you to change, you have to get involved.
That's right. So we've been talking a little bit about this energy that's been so heavy for us, and even though sometimes you don't want to be part of it, just collectively we're just so drawn into everything that's happening. Whether it was like the COVID, we're still experiencing, people are still sick out there. We're still praying for them. The hospitals are still not as busy, but the doctors are still busy, that the blood labs, like all these things are just still going. And then now with this, the riots and everything that has sprung up from that, it's been heartbreaking to see all this stuff. But at the same time, it's such a learning experience, and it's something that had to happen. And even though we don't want to feed into it, you especially me as a woman, like you still get to experience what other people are going through. And it's just so heartfelt, and it's so heavy on the heart that, like I was telling my coaching clients, like even though we don't want to, I think we have to accept, like, to be into that energy and to feel it, to fully feel it, to fully have the empathy for the moms, for the children, for everyone that's going through all this, chaos, really. And at the same time, like, what can we do about it? Not to get stuck in that energy, not to just, cry, yes, if you want to cry, if you want to feel it, but don't get stuck in there. And I think that's one of the hardest things for us is like, okay, like, what else can we do? So
that's what I told my clients this week. It's okay to be stuck as long as you don't stay stuck. And I think stuck means that, one, we don't have the clarity. We don't have the clarity of what to do. We don't have the clarity of where we're going. We don't have the clarity of the path. Number two is we don't have a vision. Like, where are we going? Where are we taking this step? Where are we going with this transition that we're in. And unless we could see a big picture, unless we could see a light in the tunnel, we're always going to feel stuck. And the third one is the belief system. Like, people get stuck because they have doubt, they have fear, they have insecurities, they have uncertainty. And as leaders, our job is to see how can we get unstuck, how can we go to the next level. And in order for us to get out of the energy field that we're in right now, we have to have a clear path, a clear plan. We have to have a big vision and paint the vision. At the same time, increase our belief system and ask ourselves every single day, who do I need to become in order for me to overcome the challenges, whatever I'm going through, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's in business. We have to figure out a way of not getting stuck in that field, in that energy field, right, but break through and be able to push through.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot more people, like, as you say that, I'm just thinking, like, there's a lot more people that will be in the energy of being stuck than the energy of people that are actually looking for solutions and looking for something to do. So, like, for example, with my little girl, she was just feeling so overwhelmed with all this emotions, right? So I told her, I'm like, feel fully the emotions, especially as women. Like, allow yourself the permission to feel whatever you're feeling in your body. If you need to cry, if you need to do whatever it is that you need to do, have a conversation, whatever it is for you. And then we looked for something that she could actually feel like she was part of the solution. So we went yesterday to this, not a protest, but it was like a awareness for love and support
event.
Right? So it's like we painted hearts and we wrote what we felt on the heart, something positive, and we want to and hang it up somewhere. So then I told them, like, okay, so we already felt angry, we already had the sadness, we already went through that. Now what is the solution? Like, we found a peaceful protest that we could go and actually put our little 2 cents in and put a little prayer in. And she actually felt so much better because she did something for it. She actually found a solution. It was like, okay, I found something to do that it was pleasing to my heart, that I knew that it helps the humanity, that it helps the problem. And then it's like, okay, what's next? Because there's a lot more people right now that are stuck on this negative energy instead of finding the solution or finding what to do. I think there's a lot more of that happening now. So whether it's in your relationship, if you're stuck in your relationship, because this also brings a lot of confrontation and a lot of anger, and it doesn't even know where to go. So, like, you take it out on the person that's in front of you. Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes, we pay the broken plates.
But I believe that in order for things to change and everything, there has to be pain. I mean, in business, unless there is pain, you're not going to solve a problem. If you're not solving a problem in business, you're not going to get paid. In muscles, when you're working out and you want to lose weight or gain muscle, you have to break the muscle, you have to break the body in order for it to grow. You have to feel the pain. Yeah. In relationships, sometimes the connection becomes deepened when there is pain, when there is an experience there, right? Yeah. So the same thing is happening right now in this world. We're going through a moment of pain. Mm-hmm. Now is the time for us to break through. Now is the time not to get stuck in pain, because pain is necessary for growth. Yeah. But pain also could cause suffering. And if we don't focus on the solution and we don't focus on what the next level is, we're going to turn pain into suffering. I'd rather talk about how do we turn this pain into fuel? How do we turn this pain, this energy, and use it to propel to the next level? So that's what I told my little girl yesterday. I said, okay, you have this pain, you're feeling this negative energy. Yeah. How can we use this energy to actually do something positive? Yeah. Propel this energy. And that's what she found. You and her, you guys, went online and you found something that we could actually do to release this energy, because that's what it is. Is that energy field that needs to be released somewhere or another.
Yeah, and even thinking about that, it's even when you step into that decision of like, okay, what else can I do? How can I be a solution to what's happening? I didn't even have to look for this peaceful protest. It actually came onto my feed, and that's how just God works. Like, like once you step into that energy of like, okay, what else can I do? Where's the solution to this problem? How can I put my little 2 cents in? Then it's like God kind of just shows you the way, and then people come into your path, information comes into your path. Like, it's amazing.
And that's the law of attraction, right? People say, you focus on what you attract the most. And I think that what's wrong with the world is always available. You could focus on what you don't have. You could focus on the stuff that you haven't done. You could focus on all the things that you don't have enough of, but you also could focus on the gift. Right. One of my coaching clients this morning, we were having a mastermind call, And right there, we're talking about problems because we love to talk about like our problems, and we love to talk about solutions. That's our mastermind calls. We talk about where we are, where we want to go, what are the challenges that we have, and the one gift that we could find, right? And at that moment, my coaching client said, hold on one second, I need to just read this text to you. And one of his clients got sick yesterday, heart attack, and it's in the hospital dying.
Wow.
And at that moment, it just give every single one of us perspective of like, shit, here we are talking about the problems that we have.
There are no problems.
But the reality at that moment, there are no problems. We're alive, we're healthy, we have energy.
Yes.
Now, with this gift, how can we use this gift to go to the next level? And I think a lot of us, what we need to do is look for perspective, especially in relationships. Because I know now you come home and it wasn't the COVID wasn't enough. You have all this negative energy now. How do you handle that? How do you not take this energy against your partner? How do you not get triggered with your partner? And that's one of the things I want to talk about in this podcast is what are we doing to hold this space and use this energy instead of making this energy our enemy towards each other? So what are the one thing that you could advise the listeners, Vivian? From a woman's perspective, I'll give them some of the things that I'm doing from a man's perspective.
And I was just thinking of the question that we had last week, too. I don't know. You want to address that?
Well, let's first talk about this one, then we'll talk about the questions.
Okay, because it just has to do, I just kind of put the two and two together. So what do you want me to answer? Like, how have I...
So what are some steps that we talked about? How do we use this energy to feel more connected as opposed to using this energy against each other?
I think you definitely have to create the space for it. Like, that's what we have to constantly do is schedule the time, because if it's not in your calendar, if it's not in your mind, if it's not like somewhere that's visible, it doesn't happen. And I think it's easy for us to just get caught up in what's happening in front of us. And it's like, the drama and the frenzy. And then you forget about each other. And I know I was talking to one of my coaching clients, and it was like, I said something and I was like, wow, that's so profound. And I know that's not from me, that's from God, right? And I said to her, I said, are you creating the time to pick up everything around you? Or I should say, do you have time to pick him up?
Pick each other up.
Pick him up. Because there's this thing, like I'm coaching women, right? So it's like we're picking everything up. We're picking everything and everyone up. Everything that is happening around us, like we're there to pick it up and to like try to solve it or like hold on to it or whatever it is that we're doing. But yet we forget to have the time to pick up our husbands. And maybe right now is a time that we really need to create the space to pick each other up. And that was so profound when I said that. It came back to me. So like everything that I say, I always take it like to me. That's my own teaching. And then I was like, okay, so what am I doing for Raul? How am I picking him up? And that's one of the things that we have to do is like we're constantly reminding ourselves. It's like, how do we create this time for each other? I still have my mom come over. Like this is one of the things that we do. We still create the time to have date night, even though we're not going anywhere to eat, but we still get out of the house. I still get dressed up. I still have, put some makeup on. I still get into that mentality of like, okay, well, how can we have a conversation? How can we have a conversation? How can we create the space for each other? How can I make you feel special, even if it's for like this 1 hour that we're going to have in the car together?
I think it's important because that's the energy sometimes that we feel that we're in a war the whole day, or whether we're in business, whether we're talking to clients, and when we come home, last thing a man wants to do is continue the battlefield, continue the war. And as a man, what I'm doing here in this transition is just know that your family is not your enemy. Yeah. Your family didn't sign up for you to go to war. Your family didn't sign up for you to build your business. So I need to make the shift and actually shift my energy and know that my words and my energy is contagious. So if I'm coming home and I have all this negative shit that's going on because of all the things that are going on, and if I take it on my kids, if I take it on my wife, or I bring that energy, it's contagious. The same thing with my words. I need to look at my words and ask myself, are these words creating my reality, or they are destroying somebody else's reality? This week, perfect situation, what happened with my little girl. I mean, our kids are our biggest teachers. We learned so much from my kids. So this past weekend, we had a photo shoot. I had my team come over because we haven't taken pictures in a long time with the family, and I said, I want to have
Alejandro got his haircut.
my son got a haircut
about it.
And we wanted to have
Yes.
pictures, so remembering this moment,
Yeah.
right? So I asked my team to come over to my house on the weekend. I was gonna do some hamburgers, hot dogs, and just be in the pool and have the team take some pictures and family pictures.
Yeah.
And we were rushed. We set a certain time, and then when I came downstairs to talk to my team, I noticed my little girl had a dress on, which I didn't particularly like. So I asked her, I said, Abigail, could you go and change? Because I don't like the dress. The dress, doesn't fit you anymore. That's all I said. I said, the dress doesn't fit you anymore because, you've grown in this quarantine. We all, she's grown, her brother has grown. And then she went to her room and then she started to cry. What was she telling you in the room?
I mean, just that, you saying that again, it just brings so much pain to my heart. But I think gosh, if you were to say something like that to me, men, if you're listening out there, if you tell your woman, that dress doesn't look good, or that color doesn't look good, that red dress doesn't look good on you, something in the back of her mind is never wear a red dress again, right? So it's even if you love a red dress, you're never going to wear it again because it was not pleasing to you. And even though we don't really want to accept that, it's we're never going to wear that red dress again.
But see, I was being honest. I was being honest on the feedback, right? That is me caring for my daughter and telling her my honest opinion. But here's the one thing,
But can I tell you something before you continue? just to get this cleared away in your mind, because we didn't really have time to talk about it. It's the way that you communicate is very important to women. And I think that when you're going to say something, we have to feel safe. That is one of the most important things for us, is when we're taking something in, we have to feel safe. And at that moment, it wasn't a safe place. Why? Because we weren't in our natural habitat, which I would say in her room. She wasn't there, or in her house. We were outside. We were surrounded by strangers, which they're really not strangers, but it was our team, our next level team, and she was exposed. So it's this information that she's taken, it wasn't just for her to hear, it was everybody heard. So imagine how you feel now. It's not just you giving me this information in a place that I feel safe and that I could actually take in. No, you're telling everybody. So now everybody knows that I don't fit into this dress anymore, or the dress doesn't look good on me, or whatever it is. So it's you kind of feel okay, I'm exposed. You just exposed me in front of everybody. And you say that you love me? How is this love? And that was her thing. It's he says he loves me, but how is he going to do this to me in front of everybody?
And this is what it killed me when I went to talk to her, when she said to me, because I said, Abigail, I was just being honest. I'm not
of course.
I'm being honest. I don't like the way that dress looks, but if you like it, that's when I try to fix things, right? As men, we break shit and then we try to fix it. If you like it, it's okay. But then she said that, and this is where it was women know how, even at a younger age, know how to put the daggers on our man.
Yes.
Because she goes, Dad, I felt beautiful in that dress. None of my dress fit me anymore because I don't fit in the dresses. But the moment I put this dress on, I felt beautiful. I felt like I was comfortable. And the moment that you spoke those words to me, I felt completely crushed. And that crushed me because I realized that the words that we have as fathers, as men, as leaders really could destroy people around us. And maybe we don't have that intention, because obviously my intention is never to destroy my little girl's image,
of course,
but also expose her weaknesses, to expose some of the things that we need to work on, and some of the things that we both as a family need to work on.
To you. I know that you might have felt like you did something wrong at that time, and yes, it felt like that, but at the same time, it's the confidence that we have as women, especially as a little girl, it's still not there. If you were to tell me that now, and even in the past where you've said something about, even me thinking of a red dress, you've said something to me about a red dress, and I don't know exactly what you said, but I know you said something. I've never wanted to wear a red dress, which next week I'll be wearing something red. And I never really wanted to experience that again, because it's oh, okay, I'm not pleasing my husband. And then it's not just that story, but the story that we start to create in our head. This ideal woman kicks in, and all of a sudden it's my butt is too big, and my hips are too big, and I'm never gonna wear that dress because I don't look good to him, and he's gonna go look at somebody else that's wearing a dress. It's like all the stories that we create only because we're trying to please someone, and then we forget that the real issue should be, what is the confidence of me taking care of and pleasing myself? Like, what feels right to me right now?
And the more I start looking at what was going on in my world at that moment, because again, this world's colliding, right? It's her world being insecure.
Yeah.
My world is trying to have everything together. And the reality is that I was trying to make everyone like have everything at the right time, and have everything done at the right time. And what showed up for me is really knowing that my words create worlds. And I need to be mindful of, am I uplifting people or am I destroying people? And that's where this energy right now that's going on. As leaders, we have to understand that we have the opportunity, whatever words, whether you're criticizing people or not, is your words matter. Your words are going to affect people. Your words are going to impact people. So if you don't have, just like I think your grandmother said something very profound years ago, if you can't say nothing, like, shut the fuck up. Don't say nothing.
She didn't say that. She didn't say shut the fuck up. She said, excuse my language, she just did a cross. She said that to me. She was like, Vivian, if you have nothing, she was talking about Raul, really.
She was talking about me.
Don't say anything to him if you have nothing to say. And she did the sign of the cross. She would go like this, like I remember my grandmother all the time. And we said we were going to do a t-shirt in her name, because every time I want to say something that I'm not supposed to say, it reminds me of my grandmother. I just like do the sign of the cross, and then I'm like, yes, Lord, like, let me not say what I need to say. But yeah, there is so much that comes in relationships that sometimes like everything is tested, but at the same time it's like, what can we learn from it?
And that's exactly the thing. What can we learn? Because I caught myself and I learned so much from that interaction.
Yeah.
And I made it up, and that's what, I think this week has been a great week with my girl. Great learning experience. And I think this is what every single one of us needs to take this from the coronavirus, from what's going on right now, is if we don't learn from this, we are bound to repeat it again.
Yes.
If we don't learn from history, we're going to repeat it again. If we learn from the COVID, we're going to repeat it again.
Yeah.
If you don't learn from this experience, it's like more have the mindset of what am I learning every single day? What am I learning about myself? What am I learning about my business? What am I learning about my relationships?
Yeah.
What am I learning about my connection with God? What am I learning? What is God trying to tell me? One of my favorite mantras is like, God, what are you trying to tell me now? Like, what is it that I'm not seeing that you want me to see? Because obviously there's a blind spot. Obviously, I'm continuing to step into the same stone.
Yeah.
What is it I'm not seeing? And that's my prayer every morning, is like, show me what I cannot see. Give me,
I love that.
I do believe, help me overcome my unbelief. Help me overcome my own uncertainty. Show me the vision, and not let it come from my mind, and allow it to come from my heart, from my soul.
Yes. And it always comes back. It's so funny. Like, I have this one client, she always says, like, every time we talk, Vivian, it ends up being like, it's up to me. Like, it's always up to me. And I'm like, yeah, like, everything that happens is totally up to you. Like, it's your responsibility. It's in your playground. It's in your heart. It's like, whatever happens, it's up to you. And you can't blame and you can't point the fingers, because that's really the easiest thing to do, but it doesn't get anything done. And I think the more that we start to learn, the more that we could have that communication, I think that's really how we really could evolve and really could change, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in God, whether it's in politics, whatever's happening right now.
And you have to have the belief that the best is yet to come. Like, I truly say that every single day, like, the best is yet to come. And whatever is going on right now in your life, like, if it's something bad, you have to believe that something good is going to come out of it. Like, for example, my son getting an F. He has the first F. I think he changed it to a D. We'll see.
Wow.
If he got an F.
That hurts just thinking about it.
And he's a straight A student. He's been a straight A student for the past 3 years. I never had to look at his grades. I never had to look at any of his homework. A couple weeks ago, the teacher emailed me saying that he has an F in school, and I got triggered, and I'm like, what's going on? And I asked him, I said, everything is fine, that everything is fine. But then the reality is not, everything was not fine.
Yeah.
He was not doing the work. But when I confronted him, in our mind, we think we're doing fine. And I think that's where we go into a trance, ignoring the problem or putting the problem underneath the rug.
And
it's not going to go away. It's not taking responsibility. So the moment that he accepted that he was going to get an F, that's the moment that we were able to find a solution. And the solution is that every single day he's gonna has to run with me at least 1 mile every day.
Yeah.
He has to read every single day. He has to finish his homework whether he gets the credit or not, because he already has to do all the homework.
Yeah.
And now we're having those conversations. But if it wasn't for that F, we wouldn't have this closeness right now.
Right.
A deeper understanding. If it wasn't for that F, I wouldn't see that. Maybe my son was an overachiever, and the moment that he, like just like us, the moment that we don't think that we're gonna get an A or we're gonna go to the next level, we give up.
So then, I love how it's so easy for us to do that with our kids, because they're just so manageable, right? At least we think that. But then at the same time, when that happens with our spouses, with our partners, with our significant others, that doesn't happen. And I think that's the challenge that we come across in marriages and partnerships. We don't talk about it. Like, the communication is not there. So it's like you make a mistake, and then you feel like you're failing, and then you just back away.
So here's a challenge for every single one of you guys because I know most of you are going through the same thing that we're going through, which is like the pressure and the energy. All right.
Right.
Make a list of all the gifts that you actually experienced through this pandemic and through this crisis. Make a list and look back and see how far you've come. Make a list of all the gifts. Trying to find the gift in the middle of the storm takes mastery. And it's not going to happen unless you focus on the gift, unless you're looking for it, unless you actually become a master and actually dig in deep. So, okay, what's the gift? Are you surviving out of this pandemic? That's a gift.
Like, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for that has come out of this pandemic? And I mean, we have so many things, and even though we were so sick, even though I was so sick for so long, like, there's always a gift. The gift for us that we built the immunity in our bodies. Like, I'm the only one in our family that has like as high as immunity that I could be around, our
huge
baby
gift.
Derek.
Huge gift. My son, my son. Like, I mean, my brother just got diagnosed with corona last week.
Yeah.
His wife got diagnosed with corona last week. And you and I are the only ones who could help him with the baby. He has a 5-month-old baby because we have immunity. And that was a huge gift, actually, that we got sick at the beginning of the coronavirus, and now we can actually help our family members if they get corona.
I mean, those
at the moment, it may not seem like a gift. At the moment, it may seem like you're dying, like you're getting sick. But afterwards, if you survive, obviously, you're gonna find the gift. So now we're gonna answer some questions. So we got a Q&A. We got a couple questions here. So last week there was a question about how to handle the silent treatment. Do you ever give me the silent treatment? And how do we overcome silent treatment? So
have I given you a silent treatment or what?
Yeah, have you given me a silent? How do I overcome the silent treatment?
I mean, we would lie if we would say like I've never given someone a silent treatment. In our time, we've all done that, right? So have I given you silent treatment? Of course I have. And I think a lot of the times we use that way too often. But a silent treatment is just, I think it's like, you're angry or you don't know how to communicate, and it just goes back to communication. We just don't know how to have the communication, and I don't know, that's a big problem. Like,
so it's a big problem because as men, we always trying to solve shit. So if there's a silent treatment, the first thing that comes to our minds as a man is, how do I solve the problem? One, there's a problem. And every time that you ask a woman, what's the problem? What's the answer? Nothing. Or you should know.
Nothing.
You should know what the problem is, or there's no problem. So silent treatment for us is just creating space. Okay, it's obviously something that's bothering you. It's obviously something that I did. And as men, most of the time, I will acknowledge this, 99.9% of the time, we have no idea what the fuck we just did. We have no idea what happened. But at the same time, it works also for our benefit sometimes, because not knowing sometimes is bliss. But the moment that we...
No, I wouldn't say that.
The moment that we realize that...
What you did.
That we have to take ownership for something that we did, and we have to ask and become detectives and actually dig deeper and become more of an I would say, not inspector, but start looking deep. So, okay, what was the trigger? What is she mad about? What did I say? What are the possible scenarios? And then once you start looking down, and if eventually the ice queen is going to melt, if the man has enough opportunities to show up and say, hey, you're not going to push me away. I'm here. Let's talk about it. Because a lot of the relationships, the reason they break is because men get pushed away and they were not all in the first place. So women manifest a man leaving because they're creating that space. But I think that for a woman is like, okay, am I pushing you away? Can you handle me testing you?
Okay,
and then you're gonna fight
to
be in the space or not?
Yes, but the silent treatment is it's kind of different because I mean, especially now, I think you could do the silent treatment in so many different ways, right? Like don't answer text back, but mostly like you're just pouting and not talking back, like you're not talking for days, sometimes weeks. People go like this, and we've done it for days, right? But then at the same time, it's like you're punishing someone, right, for something that you think that they did wrong, only because you're not willing to have the conversation. Sometimes we hold back sex just from punishing the person, and that's a silent treatment. It's like, okay, I'm not going to give in to you, I'm not going to please you, I'm not going to have sex with you. That's a silent treatment. Because you're angry because of something that happened, because you didn't have the time to have this communication, and there is fear even in having this communication. And I personally don't think that it's just such an abuse to use it like this. It's like such an emotional abuse. And I think women, maybe if you don't know that you're doing this, like you're just beating each other down. And I know, like, I've done this, I'm guilty of it. But once I realize, it's like, okay, let me just have the courage to really say what is happening here, what I'm angry about, what I'm frustrated about. And we've had some deep conversations, right? So it's kind of like allow the space to have those conversations. And I know that you've let me vent, and that's one of the big things. But if you keep using this silent treatment, especially in relationships, like if you're in a relationship that you keep using the silent treatment, then you are like in an abusive, emotionally abusive relationship, and it should really be addressed. And if it's happening at the beginning, like that's a red flag, because then that's a way of like you deflecting something that's happening in yourself or maybe in the relationship, but you're just using that as a tool.
So I look at it from, if you want to talk to men, you have to give them some structure of how to deal with this, right? So
Okay.
look at it as a business deal.
Okay.
If you go into a business partnership and something goes wrong in the business and the partner is not talking about it and is giving you a solid treatment and is not looking for solution, their business is going to fail.
And then especially if they're using it, having that problem,
and there's a
again
pattern,
and again
is
and
that you
again.
gotta address it. Like you will never go into a business deal with a partner that's not talking about the problems, right?
Right.
But then again, we tolerate that in the relationship because it's not a business deal, it's
Right.
more of a relationship.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between a silent treatment and women needing space, because I think that as men we may think, okay, she's not saying anything because she's giving me a silent treatment. The reality is it's not a silent treatment, just she needs a space.
And sometimes we do need the space because it's time for you to cool off, like as a woman.
In both
like,
places.
Cool off, and then you could talk.
Because I know many times, like when we got into fights, has been because we addressed it way too soon.
Yeah.
Because it's too fresh. So now, if something is bothering, anybody, just allow it some time, create the space until you are not emotional about it, or you're less emotional. Because the moment that you are in the moment, like you go from 0 to 100 real quick, and then again, like I said, your words become worlds, and then you say things and you act at a certain place that you really mean, and then that's what creates wars.
Yes.
And
yes.
So then, if your woman is giving you silent treatment, number one is just know that is a space that she needs. Two, is not a sign for you to run away, because I think a lot of men, what we do is run away and we just hide.
Yeah.
Is a moment for you to start looking, okay, what could she possibly need at this moment? And at the same time, don't become a pleaser. Try to find out what pleases her. It's the difference between being a pleaser, saying, honey, I'm sorry, I don't even know what I'm sorry about, but I apologize.
Yeah, no.
That just creates more fire into the situation. It's more saying, listen, I understand that you're mad, I understand you're upset. Whenever you're ready to talk about it, I'm here. And I'm a big boy, I'm able to take punches. If it's about me, just let me know. But I'm here whenever you're ready to talk about it.
Yeah. So then, I would totally agree with that. I would say create the space to have this conversation, but have the conversation. Don't just, oh, she gave me the silent treatment, now we're back, we had made up sex, and now we're good. No, like create the space to talk about what happened. Create the space, compromise to like, okay, what can we do different? Because if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, that's insanity. And three, it's like, okay, what's a solution? What's a solution for this? And know that each partner needs to take responsibility for what you did in the moment, and take responsibility. And it's like, okay, I'm sorry, but no, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry for what you did. That's it. I'm sorry. I love you. I'm not going away. I'm always going to be here for you, even though you're a crazy
And I think that's what women want to hear. Like,
Yeah.
we're okay with your craziness. You're not gonna push me away because I love you, and I'm not gonna let you go. And I think that a lot of
Right.
women are afraid to actually show up that craziness because their man is going to run away. And men, we are afraid sometimes that, okay, maybe she's gonna leave me if I show that I'm too strong of saying, okay, I'm not gonna go anywhere because she thinks I'm possessive. Has to be like a yin and yang in a way of saying, we're here together. You're not my enemy. I'm here, like I'm not here to fight with you. I'm here to fight alongside you, because there's so many other shit that we're gonna fight together. So I know relationships are harder than business. I always go back to my clients and listen. Let's talk about some business shit. I know how to fix that. We'll be able to build it. But relationships, guys, I know it's easier said than done. So to recap, your worlds create worlds. Just make sure in this pandemic, in this situation, in this crisis, you're watching your words, you're judging less, you're loving more, you have more empathy and less hate. At the same time, know that your family, your queen, your kids, they're not your enemies. They're here to build a kingdom with you. And woman, if you're listening to this, build your man up. Don't destroy him. Whatever you say, whatever you whisper in his ear could actually lift him up or could destroy him at the same time. Understand that love is always the answer for any question. Right now, specifically, if you have doubts about where this country is going, just know that gratitude, empathy, and love will always get us through any situation that we're in. So thank you for watching. Thank you for connecting with us. Make sure you give us your questions. And until next time, follow us everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere except for our bedroom. That's where we change our podcast to Got Money and Purpose. We don't want you to follow us in our bedroom. That's why we keep it private. Thank you. Love you, babe. Thank you for being here.
Love you more, Raymond.
Learn it, live it, experience it.
Love
life. If you receive any value from this conversation, comment, subscribe, and share as we continue to impact more people and take them to the next level.
And please send us your comments and questions so we could answer them in the next podcast.
See you in the next episode.